Okay. Okay. The first question is, what do you think about the Indian education system?
Well, we know how it was put in place by Macaulay. Macaulay had visited India and said, India is too prosperous. I didn't find a single beggar. Everyone was dressed beautifully. Everyone has food. Everyone has work. This country cannot be economically colonized. It can only be colonized through the mind. We have to make them believe that what they have is inferior and what we bring them, the junk we bring them, is superior. Macaulay's minutes became the foundation of India's current education system. We need a decolonization. And we need a decolonization because at that time it was purely turning India into a colony and siphoning off our wealth. When the British came, we were 25% of the world's economy. By the time they left, we were 2%. That's where poverty began. India wasn't born poor. India was made poor. Every poor person of India has been made poor by an unjust system. And this today has added to the new forms of poverty we see. The ecological poverty with a devastated planet, which, as every international body that looks at these issues, the Biodiversity Convention was meant to address species extinction. It's saying we have 10 years to change. And they are warning that industrial farming is the single biggest driver for species extinction, whether it be the insecticides that kill the pollinator, or the weedicides that kill the biodiversity, or the industrial farming itself, which emits huge amounts of greenhouse gases. And the IPCC has warned, 12 years window we have. Now, the Indian education system has been very efficient at pumping out slaves for an economic model that is destroying the planet and destroying our freedom. It is time to go back to the deep roots of our ashrams, the Shanti Niketans, the University of the Forest that Tagore created, that we are an Aranya Sanskriti. We are of the forest. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the theme I gave to our Biodiversity Congress. We have said that we are one family, the trees, the birds, the insects, these wonderful birds that are singing on our farm and have come back because we have no poison. You're one family. We're one earth family. Anyone who says, this person is below me or this person is not like me, is an inferior, pathetic mind. Our Vedas have said it. If we were to go back to earth democracy, to the earth family, to the basic principles of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we would be able to rewrite an educational system in a way that protects the earth, stops the hate, and shuts the greed machine down.
Okay, that is good. What is the significance of environmental education or outdoor experiential learning for children?
Well, I think there's so many studies now that are showing that there is a very severe disorder that people are suffering from, especially children, and it's being called the nature deficit disorder. That we are of the earth. We are whole when we understand that relationship experientially. In our head, we've been taught through the analytic mode to break things up. Putting things together, the synthesizing mode, can only come through experience. And I think it is necessary for every child to not have to suffer this nature deficit disorder. I was very fortunate. I grew up in the Himalayan forests. But I think, first of all, we should create forests everywhere, not plantations, not eucalyptus plantations, not poplar plantations. Those are not forests because they do not support the complexity of the web of life that a true forest does. But we should have it in the curriculum. I believe that every school should have a garden. So you become part of the earth. When you dig into the soil, you remember, I am of the earth. Every tradition has taught us we come from the earth, we go back to the earth. Dust thou art, and to dust thou will return. The Vedas said, in this handful of soil is your future. Protect it. It will protect you. Destroy it will destroy you. Every civilization that went extinct because it didn't care for the soil. Every civilization that is standing today, like ours, was based on the foundation of caring for the soil, and today we are attacking that very foundation and calling it education. Education, educare, means to learn how to care. And we must learn how to care for the earth. Forgetting about the earth, forgetting about, I've done my PhD at Western on the foundations of quantum theory, which taught us that there's no separation in the world. My thesis on non-locality and hidden variables in quantum theory. There is no separation. 20 years of a fossil fuel age has taught us separation. We went to old plants, old fossilized carbon material that the earth over 60 million years had turned into fossil fuel, into gas, into oil. And we learned how to mine it and burn it up. 200 years we've messed up our lives, our planet, our education, our thinking. And we've got to get out of the colonial trap of Macaulay and the fossil trap of the fossil fuel age to have us remember once again that we are part of the earth, and every child's education should be an experience of being part of the earth. And I've said to the Fridays of the Future, when I met them in Paris, I said, keep the Fridays for the strike, keep every day for the garden.
Okay. There is a rapid rate of cultural erosion taking place worldwide, and as you said once, wisdom is becoming knowledge, and knowledge is becoming information, and it is getting consumed at a very rapid rate. Can offering subjects like land care or agriculture play an important role in retaining traditional ecological knowledge in the future?
Well, all agriculture has its roots in traditional knowledge, because farming is 10,000 years old, or even older in some civilizations. And you cannot put a seed in the ground without knowing what that seed is or what that soil is. I think it's the alienation we have from the earth and our roots, our cultural roots, that is the reason that there's a vacuum, cultural vacuum, that's being filled by alienated, negative identities, I call it, where you think that America was founded by the white supremacists. They're telling others to go home. If that principle was applied, colonization of America would have to be removed. Everyone would have to go to Europe, because everyone in America as a colonizer came from Europe. The indigenous people who were exterminated, 90% of them were killed during that colonization. They are the original people, the first people of that land. Reclaiming true tradition means distinguishing from pseudo-tradition. We cannot mimic into our culture the monoculture. Cultures are diverse. I mean, look at us. We have our own personal divinity. The family has its own divinity. The village will have its own divinity. That village will have a divinity different from the other village. The region will have its own divinity. We don't have one God. We have seen 300 million species. 30 crore devta. Every blade of grass, every insect is an expression of the divine universe. Those roots we'll have to get back to. Because if we do not see ourselves as part of this amazing universe that is meant for the benefit of all, we will either be part of the 1% that is destroying this planet, or we will be a hopeless 99%, waiting for our extinction, like the insects have gone extinct, like cultures have gone extinct. like different plants have gone extinct. Extinction is not our future. That's why I so respect Extinction Rebellion. And that's why I wrote the foreword for their book. This is not a drill. Extinction is the new empire. And resisting extinction, I said in that foreword, is the new satyagraha for life. Living the truth of life. That we have a right to live. We have the duty to live. We have the wisdom to live. And we will not be trapped in the illiteracy you are creating in our minds and our hearts. The ecological illiteracy that is going with the thinking that big data is the new oil. If the oil age created so much havoc in 200 years, this new oil age of big data will create havoc in 10 years, both by destroying work, by destroying knowledge, by destroying power. There's a new book out called Surveillance Capitalism, because we have this amazing convergence now. If earlier oil was the raw material, now our minds are the raw material for big data as the oil. Our behaviors are the raw material. The economy is manipulating us, mining our minds and feeding back manipulated data. We are being genetically engineered to be consumers of big data so that we can constantly be enslaved and never find our way to freedom. Freedom today is to live free. Freedom today is to live in principles that life has evolved. And those principles are very basic. Life is diverse. Anywhere there's a monoculture, it's anti-life. Life is self-organized. Anywhere where there's an external imposition, it's anti-life.
So, as you supported Greta and Fridays for Future in Paris on 22nd Feb and in solidarity, what is your message to the youth of India who are participating in climate activism and switching to sustainable lifestyles and reconnecting with the earth?
I think to the young people of India who are joining the struggle for a future, I would say you have an advantage that Greta does not have. You have the advantage of an ecological civilization. Learn from it in its integrity. Live its principles. And let us de-addict nature and your generation, de-addict your generation from the assumption that consumerism makes a better life. I am watching young people. I mean, when we were young, we were so happy trekking. We were so happy gardening out in the forest. I watch those new jungles of consumerism, the malls, crowded with young people. And I think just as at a time where the rest of the world's youth are giving up consumerism. I remember at the time of globalization, when we did our big action to stop the WTO, the movement of no logo was getting very big. Kids were shedding all the Adidases and the Nikes and wearing basic canvas shoes. At that time, the Nikes came to India, when they were losing their markets there. That's the time everyone's now in Adidas. I say, my God, I'd rather wear my sari. Hides everything. It's my 6 yards of freedom. But more than that, it is someone's livelihood. And my mother taught me when I was a 6-year-old. And she said, what do you want for your birthday? Everyone was wearing the new fossil fuel clothing called nylon. I said, nylon dress. She said, I'll get it for you if you really want it. But remember, when you wear it, you got a millionaire his next Mercedes. If you wear khadi, the hand-spun, hand-woven cloth, a woman was able to feed her child. You make your choice. So I've carried this burden of political economic choices in everything you eat and everything you wear. And I think the young people who are leading the movement for the future need to build on our time-tested past and need to erase the 20 years of greed of globalization, the greed of the 1% who makes enough money in 1 year as the entire national budget. 1%. They control more than 80% of our people. That inequality to me is sinful. It should not be allowed. Any economic policy that allows it to thrive is wrong on the tenets of our ancient wisdom. The Isha Upanishad, which says, this universe is for the benefit of all. Anyone taking more than their share is a thief. So those who we worship as the new billionaires are actually thieves from the universe. And Gandhi distilled it in such beautiful words. The earth has enough for everyone's needs, but not for a few people's greeds. If the earth is being destroyed, if people's lives are being destroyed, if children are going hungry, if people are going without work, it's that same greed economy. And I really hope and trust that the young people of India will shape their future while they protect nature and they have solidarity with those who are excluded.
Thank you. And then this is like, what positive role can schools and institutions play in retaining traditional ecological knowledge?
Well, last year we organized right here in Doon Valley at the Forest Research Institute a big global conference on biodiversity. It was called the International Biodiversity Congress. But then I decided it was very important to get the youth involved. And so we contacted the schools. And I have to say that in that 1 month, the schools created the most amazing activities. They did the opening of the Congress, they did the closing of the Congress. They had a whole day seminar to present their papers, their art, their music. And the theme was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The theme was reduce your ecological footprint and enlarge your handprint. Handprint is your creativity, your ability to make. That ecological civilization is waiting to be rediscovered and learned by the young people. It won't be taught by the colonizers. We have to go to authentic teachers. We should not go to anyone who claims to say that the earth is there for destruction. And there's a progress that comes out of destroying the earth hasn't followed the tenets of ecological civilization. Yeah?
Yep, thank
Okay.
you. And I have like 1 or 2 questions of like just for me to know about.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.